I'm Fraser Kearney. I'm one of the directors of Blue Orchid Enterprise Solutions. Blue Orchid is a business support provider. What we do is we run business support programs for local government, LEPs and government departments, to working with growth businesses through coaching and mentoring, to grant management of investment programs to help businesses to realise some of their growth projects and move their business into the next step of growth. The BEAT programme came about because ourselves and our partners, Groundwork Cheshire, had identified a need to support SMEs in moving their businesses towards a more energy efficient way of working. That often requires them to replace machinery or invest in new equipment, change the fabric of their buildings somehow. And SMEs are often reluctant to make those investments. They don't know enough about the situation, don't know enough about the technologies and new technologies. So we made an application to the LEP for £728,000 of funding to run the grant programme. And what that did was allowed us to work with SMEs across Cheshire to deliver them independent energy audits delivered by Groundwork on their premises, identify the actions in their business that could help them reduce energy, save money, but also save carbon emissions. And then lead them through the grant element to installing that equipment in and starting to make those savings.
So I'm Yad, I'm a director at the YP Group, and our business is currently Counters Coffee Bar, which is currently in operation at the front of the building. And then we will move into a hotel on the upper 2 floors, an event space on the ground floor in the banking hall. So a little bit of background into our business is it's completely brand new. It's something that me and my wife have sort of constructed over the last 2 years. We were originally just going to do the hotel on the upper 2 floors, but obviously with COVID last year, our business plan changed and we came downstairs and created the ground floor and put that into operation first, and we'll look to move the hotel into operation next year, hopefully. We received funding through the BEAT programme and the help at Blue Orchid. The help in that was massive because we got 40% of our costs recovered through all the energy efficiency upgrades that we made in the building. It's allowed us to refurbish a lot more of the building in our first phase.
The life of the BEAT programme, we supported 56 businesses to carry out an energy audit on their site, and that site visit enabled them to identify areas where they could reduce their energy use or their resource use, where they could save energy. And provide them with a list of options and activities that they could do, some of which would be quite big, require investment, some of which might be small behaviour changes in how they work. And then we worked with a further 42 businesses. We gave 42 business grants out for the purchase and installation of energy efficiency or low carbon generation technologies to install into their business and start to make those savings straight away. So as a result, we gave out grants to a value of £440,000, and that ranged in size from a few thousand up to I think 30 or 40,000 were some of the larger grants we gave out. And that in itself leveraged in sort of £660,000 worth of private sector investment, the money that the companies themselves were putting into the project.
So the equipment that was purchased with the help of the BEAT programme was, one part was all the lighting control. So we've made everything LED within the building now, and they're all on lighting control so that they're either operated through a PIR sensor, which means that they're only in use when there's someone in the building, or we have dimmer switches, which actually you can create mood lighting as well, but it reduces the energy consumption of the lights when they're in use as well. The equipment has aided massively because it's reduced our bills, so it's actually long term, it's actually great for us because we're using less of our cash on spending on utilities because the energy efficiency comes through the lower consumption. Being green is, I know it's a very on-trend topic at the moment, but it's massive for us as well because we eventually want to try and move towards being a carbon neutral sort of project. I know sometimes these older buildings you can't sort of have everything modern because the infrastructure doesn't allow that, but I mean, especially with the BEAT funding, we've done as much as we can within that funding to allow us to be as energy efficient as we can, and I think over time we will increase that as well. And then in long term we will be looking to reinvest. Within the hotel we want to move away from like single-use packaging and really sort of be conscious in what we're using and, you know, hopefully make for a greener, brighter future. The BEAT programme has been massive for us. It's helped us significantly, especially in this last year with everything that's been going on COVID related.
Overall, the impact of that spending has been a reduction of carbon emissions across Cheshire and Warrington of 1,000 tonnes of carbon per year, and it's led to some of the businesses already starting to see significant energy savings, which helps them in a very difficult time anyway. The funding from the LEP was vital. We couldn't have delivered the project without it. Obviously, there are some private sector options for businesses to install this equipment. They can get visited by the manufacturers or the installers. There are some financing options out there, but what we find is that SMEs, they're often very reluctant to go down that route initially. What they want is an independent source of advice. They want to work with someone who they don't think is just going to try and sell them something straight away. And in that case, the project and the funding from the LEP has been vital. The ability to send an independent energy auditor out to their site to work with them on their needs, and then to work with them through the grant project to help them specify that project need, to help them identify through the procurement process the best solution for them, and then ultimately to put some money into the investment itself. It goes a long way to helping some SMEs and some businesses make that step into trying to reduce their energy efficiency, moving away from the technologies that they might be used to, what they might see as standard, and just really starting to change their culture to think about how they can reduce energy, how they can contribute to the low carbon agenda. There is a willingness in there with SMEs, there's a willingness in there across the business community to do it, but equally there's not a lot of time for them to learn about the technologies. They're busy trying to survive, particularly at a difficult time, and what they really find valuable is an independent and honest broker who they see as coming from the public sector, who's been funded locally through something like the LEP, and they feel has their best interests at heart, and they're really willing to work with us on that. So we found it vital. We found it vital to work with the LEP in promoting the programme, and generally without the LEP, obviously the funding means that the project wouldn't have started, but also without the LEP support, we wouldn't have had the traction we had with the business community either.